They gave Keanu Reeves the worst seat in his own restaurant, right next to the trash. What they didn't know was that the man they were being rude to was the one who built the place, piece by piece. Get ready for a story about quiet strength, forgotten heroes, and something big that happened while the whole internet watched. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. Share your city or country in the comments. We love to see how far stories can go and how many people we're sharing them with. The rain had just started to tap on the tall windows of Keanu's house in the mountains when a letter came. There was no name on it. No return address. Just thick paper, folded carefully and closed with a black wax seal. Keanu held it in his hand, slowly turning it over. He brushed his thumb over the folded line. For a moment, he waited. Then he opened it. Come see how your empire treats the people who built it. That was all the letter said. No name. No, please. Just one sentence that felt like someone pointing a finger. Keanu sat for a while, holding the note. Behind him, the fire in the fireplace crackled. Outside, the mist hung low over the valley, moving like soft questions he couldn't stop thinking about. He hadn't been to his New York restaurant in many years. The restaurant had his name, but only in secret. People call it fancy now. It had become a brand, a cool place, something different than he remembered. Maybe even something he regretted. He didn't call anyone. No press, no helpers, no camera crew. He just opened his laptop, made a reservation under a fake name, Henry K. and picked a Tuesday night. Busy, but not too busy. A night where he could blend in. But he didn't want to go alone. He picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts. So many names, producers, actors, agents. Then he stopped at one, Samuel Carter. Samuel wasn't just a chef. He had been the heart of the kitchen. Before the fancy counters. Before the imported salt. Before the stars and good reviews. He was the one who taught Keanu how to clean fish. How to make soup from bones. How to listen to the food instead of making it act like a show. They hadn't talked in years. Keanu called the number. One ring. Two. Keanu, the voice said. Older, slower, but it was Samuel. I want to take you out to dinner, Keanu said. A pause. Our place. Samuel laughed quietly. Well, I'd say it's been long enough. Keanu looked at the letter again, then folded it and slipped it into his coat. No, he said softly. It's been too long. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and started the trip. The wind was sharp when they stepped onto West 49th Street. It blew right through Samuel's coat. They walked toward the restaurant. Above the glass doors, the name Whitest Stone was carved in brass. It glowed under the lights. The name didn't mean much anymore. It had turned into just a brand. Inside, the air smelled fancy, like rosemary and saffron. A young woman stood behind a shiny podium, scrolling on a tablet. She didn't even look up when they walked in. Name? She asked without smiling. Henry K., Keanu said, fixing his scarf. Samuel stood beside him, quiet. She tapped the tablet, looked closely, then smiled a little in a not nice way. She turned to another hostess and whispered. Both giggled a little. This way, she said. They followed her into the glowing dining room. It was sleek and shiny. Lights hung from the ceiling. Jazz music played softly. People talked and laughed. Everyone seemed to be playing a part in the show. A man and a woman near the entrance looked at them with unfriendly eyes. The man raised an eyebrow. The woman frowned. Then came their table. It was next to the swinging kitchen doors. They could hear the chefs shouting, pots clanging. Next to the table was a cart with dirty towels and a trash bin marked food waste. Samuel stopped. Just a bit. Keanu didn't. He pulled out a chair and told Samuel to sit. The hostess gave a small nod and left. A young waiter came a few minutes later, wiping his hands on his apron. "Oh," he said when he saw them. "You guys got this one." He smiled in a rude way. "Hope you can hear us over the kitchen noise, Grandpa." Samuel flinched a little. Keanu stayed quiet, but watched the waiter walk away. Then came a loud pop near the door. Champagne. A fancy-looking couple had just walked in. The man wore a shiny coat and a gold watch. The woman laughed loudly. A manager came over with a glass of Dom Perignon and led them to a nice table with soft lights and flowers. "They didn't even ask for their name," Samuel said softly. Keanu just nodded. He looked up at the fancy art on the walls. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Samuel took a handkerchief out of his pocket. The old kind, with the first logo from when they opened the restaurant. The picture was faded now, from being used so much. He laid it on his lap. "Remember when we couldn't even get into places like this?" he whispered. Keanu looked straight at him. "And now," he said quietly, "we get the table next to the trash." In the kitchen, a pan fell with a loud noise. No one looked at them. They were invisible now. And that was the point. Their server didn't come back for almost 15 minutes. When he did, he brought the wrong food. Twice. Samuel had ordered clam chowder, one of the only dishes still left from the old menu. But the waiter brought mushroom soup. It wasn't hot, and he placed it down without care. "That's not what I ordered," Samuel said kindly. "We're out of chowder," the waiter muttered. "Chef's choice tonight." Samuel started to speak again, but stopped. Keanu watched everything. Hands together. His face is calm. Across the room, people laughed, glasses clinked. A woman in a silver dress laughed at something that wasn't funny. No one looked at their corner. No one ever did. Except for Riley. She came over slowly, notepad in hand. Her face was kind, but a little worried. "I'm really sorry about the mix-up," she said gently. "I can ask the kitchen if there's something else you'd like." Samuel smiled. "This will do. Thanks for asking." She nodded and looked at Keanu. Her eyes narrowed, like she almost knew who he was, but said nothing. "I'll bring you some fresh bread," she added. "On the house." She walked toward the kitchen. The door swung open behind her. They could hear voices from the break room. "Cassandra." Her voice was sharp and cold. "If you waste your time on those tables, Riley, don't bother clocking in again." Riley's voice was soft. "They haven't been served right. It's just being nice." "No," Cassandra snapped. "It's a waste. Let them finish their water and leave." The door closed. Riley came back a few minutes later. Her shoulders were tight. Her smile was small. She placed a basket of bread on the table. Her hands shook a little. "Here you go," she said, not looking at Samuel. Samuel reached into his coat and pulled out a small jar. Homemade honey butter. He always kept some with him, just in case. He held it out to her without saying a word. She took it gently, like it was made of glass. "Thank you," she whispered. Samuel smiled. His eyes were tired. "Just don't let it melt in your pocket." They both laughed. A real laugh. A small, happy moment in a room full of pretend. At the next table, a man in fancy shoes gave them a mean look, then asked for another drink. No one stopped him. No one ever did. Back near the kitchen, Cassandra stood in the shadows, arms crossed, eyes locked on Riley. Like a hawk. Keanu looked at her for just a moment. His fingers slowly curled around the side of his glass. It wasn't time to act yet, but he could feel that it was getting close. The evening had become slow and quiet. The sound of forks and knives tapping against plates filled the room. Ice made little clinks in glasses. Everything felt like it was on repeat. Keanu and Samuel sat at a small table beside the kitchen. They could see everyone in the restaurant, but no one seemed to see them. It was almost like they were behind glass that only worked one way. Their soup bowls were only half eaten. The bread basket was empty. No one had come to refill it. Samuel reached for his glass of water, but it was dry. It had been empty for more than 20 minutes. "I think they've decided we don't need water anymore," Samuel said in a dry, joking voice. Keanu gave a small smile, but his eyes were sharp and serious. He wasn't laughing. Then it happened. A young waiter rushed out from the kitchen. He was carrying a tray full of drinks with one hand. He didn't seem worried or careful. He didn't look where he was going. As he passed their table, his foot slipped just a little. A glass tipped over on the tray. Splash! A full glass of red wine poured right onto Samuel's white shirt and pants. The deep red stain spread fast, like a big, messy paintbrush stroke. The waiter stopped. His eyes went big for a second. Then, just like that, he shrugged. "No big deal," he said in a flat voice. He reached into his apron, pulled out a crumpled napkin, and tossed it on the table. "Should have gone with the plastic cups, huh?" Keanu blinked. Samuel looked down at his stained shirt. It looked like a big red wound. But he didn't yell. He didn't stand up. The waiter didn't say sorry. He didn't help clean. He didn't even ask if Samuel was okay. He just walked away like nothing had happened. The manager didn't show up. No one came to help. But someone else noticed. A teenage girl at a table nearby gasped. She already had her phone out. Her fingers moved quickly. She knew what to do. She started recording. "Wait, is that who I think it is?" she whispered to her friend. Her phone camera zoomed in on Keanu's face. Then she pointed it at Samuel's messy shirt. Her video was already live on TikTok before most people even saw what happened. Samuel didn't say anything. He calmly reached into his coat. He pulled out an old cloth handkerchief. It had a faded whitest stone logo on it. His hand shook a little. Slowly, gently, he dabbed at the red wine on his shirt, like he was cleaning a wound he already knew he would get. "I told you not to wear white," Keanu said quietly. It almost sounded like a joke. But there was something in his voice, a little crack. Samuel gave a small smile. "Old habits," he said. Across the room, the hostess leaned in and whispered something to the manager. The manager looked over, frowned, and shook his head. Keanu tapped his fingers on the table. Once, twice, then stopped. Still, no one came to check on them. Not the manager. Not the waiter. Not even Cassandra. But the camera kept rolling. Now, people watching on TikTok were leaving comments. "Is that Keanu Reeves? Did that waiter just spill wine on that guy? Why are they being ignored like that?" The truth wasn't out yet, but the fire had started, and it was spreading. Whispers flew across the dining room. People were checking their phones, then looking over at the dark little table near the kitchen. Their eyes went from curiosity to surprise. Some couldn't believe what they were seeing. A man stood halfway from his chair. He pointed his phone toward the table, quietly filming. That's when Cassandra showed up. She walked like she was the boss. She had a sleek ponytail and bright red heels that clicked loudly on the floor. She held a clipboard in one hand and a tablet in the other. Her face was serious. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. "Riley," she said sharply, not stopping as she walked past. A young server, Riley, froze where she stood. She was mid-pour, giving someone water. She looked over at Keanu and Samuel's table, then back at Cassandra. I still haven't cleared table D4, Riley said softly. That's not a table, Cassandra said. That's an eyesore. She didn't wait for Riley to reply. She walked straight toward Keanu and Samuel's table. Keanu looked up as she stopped beside them. Her arms were crossed tight. She didn't look at him. She looked straight at Samuel. I'm going to have to ask you both to leave, she said in a cold voice. Samuel blinked. Why? He asked, confused. There have been complaints, Cassandra said. Too much attention. It's disturbing other guests. Keanu's eyes narrowed. You mean it's disturbing you? Cassandra finally looked at him. But she didn't know who he was. She saw just a man in a dark coat. A man with a beanie. A little scruffy. Easy to ignore. This isn't a soup kitchen, she said. We carefully choose who eats here. The room went silent. Even the clatter of plates in the kitchen stopped. At one table, a couple slowly set down their forks. Someone whispered, "Did she just say that?" Samuel let out a slow breath through his nose. "You've got some nerve," he said, his voice low but calm. "I cooked in this kitchen before you even knew what risotto was." Cassandra gave a small smile. "Then I guess you know where the back door is." That was too much. At a table nearby, a young woman stood up. She held her phone out, pointed right at Cassandra. "Excuse me," she said loudly, "but I think everyone here should see what this restaurant really thinks about people who don't look like Instagram models." More people stood up. 1, 2, 5, 10. Phones pointed at Cassandra. Riley stepped forward. Her apron was already untied. She looked at Keanu, then at Samuel. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry." Cassandra turned on her fast. "Clock out. You're fired." Keanu stood up. He didn't yell. He didn't rush. But the whole room went still again. Every phone turned toward him. Every person watched. He slowly took off his beanie. His messy hair fell out. Then he took off his glasses. His posture changed just a little. Just enough. Now, everyone knew who he was. Gasps spread across the room like a wave. "Oh my gosh, it is him. That's Keanu Reeves." Cassandra stepped back. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Keanu reached into his coat. He pulled out a small, worn wallet. Inside was a sleek black card. He placed it on the table in front of her. It said, "Whitest Stone, founding partner, Keanu Reeves." Cassandra stared at it like it was hot. "You just embarrassed the man who helped build this place," Keanu said, his voice soft but strong. "And the man who saved my life." He turned slightly, speaking to the room. "Samuel Carter. First chef. My mentor. My brother. When I was broke and hungry, he fed me out the back door of this kitchen. When I almost gave up acting, he let me wash dishes here. He gave me hope." Samuel stayed quiet. His hand held the edge of the table tight. The handkerchief, still red from wine, sat folded by his plate. "I wouldn't be here," Keanu said, "if he hadn't believed in me." He looked around the room. And now this is how he's treated. By people with name tags. In a place that uses his recipes. No one moved. Cassandra's voice came back, weak. This isn't how we usually do things." "No," Keanu said. "This is exactly how you do things. Behind your smiles, your velvet ropes, your playlists." He turned to Samuel. "I'm sorry. I thought I built something better." Samuel shook his head. "You did, kid. It just got lost." Riley was still nearby, holding her apron. Keanu turned to her. You okay? She nodded. You're staying, Keanu said. Cassandra stepped forward, trying to sound tough again. You can't just. Cassandra. That was all Keanu said. And it was enough. Keanu didn't shout, but his voice got stronger. You're done. Clock out. Tonight is your last night. The clipboard fell from her hand and hit the marble floor with a soft clack. Samuel sat quietly, watching everything. Then he spoke, very softly. I'm not here for an apology. He looked around the room, at the phones, the people, the place he used to call home. I'm here to remind you. Some of us still remember when people like me weren't allowed to walk through the front door. The room got really quiet. Then, something happened, not with sound, but with feeling. One by one, the people eating dinner stood up. Not because they were surprised, but because they agreed with Samuel. Someone started clapping. Then another person. Then more. It wasn't super loud, but it was slow, strong, and real. Cassandra just stood there, frozen, in her bright red high heels. Her eyes moved from phone to phone. Everyone was recording her. The live video had over 130,000 people watching. People started leaving comments. Soup Kitchen Samuel is a legend. How dare they? This is why people don't like these fancy places. Keanu is fixing things. Let's go. At the bar, a man put down his drink. He looked at Cassandra and said, I brought my dad here tonight because of that man. He pointed at Samuel. Not because of you. Near the front door, a young woman shouted, I work in fancy restaurants too. This is how racism hides, in who gets seated, who gets water, who gets watched. Things got really intense. Keanu stepped closer to Cassandra. You will say sorry, he said. Not for good press. Not for me. For him. Samuel didn't say anything. He didn't move. Cassandra tried to act strong again. I built this place, she said. I gave up everything for it. Keanu didn't blink. No. You ruined it. Her face turned red. Then pale. You think firing me fixes everything? No, Keanu said. But it's a start. She looked around. The room used to admire her. Now, they only saw someone who messed up. Even the kitchen staff had stopped what they were doing. They watched from the back, holding spoons and pans still in the air. With nothing else to say, Cassandra turned and walked out. Her head was up, but her heart was heavy. Then, it was quiet again. Keanu looked at Samuel. It's yours if you want it. Samuel stood up slowly. His knees made a tiny crack sound. But when he spoke, his voice was strong. I don't want to be in charge. I don't need revenge. He looked at Riley. I want her to be paid what she's worth. I want the kid who cleans the tables to have shoes that fit. And I want the next Samuel who walks in here to be treated like they matter. This time, people didn't clap. They moved. They got up to shake Samuel's hand, hug him, and thank him. The teenager who filmed the spilled wine came up, holding her phone. You just broke the internet, she said, smiling. Samuel laughed. I was just trying to eat dinner. From the back, Riley wiped her tears. She was laughing and crying at the same time. The restaurant would never be the same again. And that was the point. Sunlight came through the big front windows at White Stone. Warm light touched the tables. There was no music, no clinking dishes. Only the quiet hum of lights and the soft sound of new beginnings. Keanu stood by the bar. His sleeves were rolled up. He held a clipboard, not to look busy, but to do real work. His hoodie was gone. Now, he wore a simple button-up shirt. The kind he used to wear when the restaurant first opened, when only the mission mattered. Riley stood across from him, with new workers. Some were brand new. Some had come back. One girl, a new hostess, looked nervous. They were standing near table 7. That table used to be beside the trash. Not anymore. Keanu pointed at the floor plan. From now on, he said, there are no special tables. No bad seats. Every guest matters. Or no one does. He looked at Riley. You're the training lead. You'll help build our new rules, clothes, seating, how we talk in the kitchen. If it's broken, we fix it from the root. Riley blinked, surprised. I don't even know what to say. Keanu smiled. Say it by leading. You already did. In the back, Samuel stood at a counter, shining an old copper pot. He wasn't there to cook anymore. He was there to help. He wore a clean white shirt tucked into dark pants. A small pin on his collar said, Founding Soul, White Stone. He had told the team that morning, I'm not some legend. I just know what it feels like to be seen, or not seen. And I know food can tell the truth. The dining room had changed overnight. The trash table was gone. The garbage bins were moved to the kitchen. In the middle of the restaurant now sat a big table. It didn't have a label. Anyone could sit there. Behind the bar, a small chalkboard said, Welcome to Whitestone. All ages. All colors. One table. Later that morning, news crews came. They wanted to talk to someone. Keanu said no. So did Samuel. The only one who spoke was Riley. She said, clearly and simply, We don't need headlines. We need habits. And we're starting here. That night, Samuel went home and found a little envelope on his doorstep. Inside was a gold card. It said, Lifetime guest, Samuel Carter. No reservations needed. Ever. He smiled, rubbed his thumb on the shiny letters, and put the card back in the envelope. Then he placed it next to an old handkerchief. It was clean now, but still had a little pink stain. Some marks are worth keeping. The city was starting to quiet down. The busy traffic was slowing. The sky turned golden as the sun went down. The new sign above the door of Whitstone glowed in the sunset. All ages. All colors. One table. Keanu sat outside on a wooden bench. His coat was next to him. His elbows rested on his knees. Next to him, Samuel sat with arms crossed, watching the streetlights turn on one by one. They didn't talk at first. They didn't have to. A couple walked by. They saw them, slowed down, and gave a respectful nod. They didn't stop or talk, just showed they cared. Samuel nodded back and smiled. Then, after a while, he asked, Why now? Keanu breathed out through his nose. He looked at the sidewalk. Because for too long, being quiet looked like grace. Like wisdom. Like dignity. But now, he said, now it feels like betrayal. Samuel looked at him, agreeing. People think racism always looks like yelling, Keanu said. But mostly, it's small things. Where you sit. How long you wait. If someone looks you in the eye. Samuel nodded. How many chances you don't get. They sat quietly again. Inside, the team was still working. Still learning. Still rebuilding. Riley was showing the new hostess how to greet guests kindly. A teen dishwasher had just been given his first hot meal, without having to ask twice. Keanu looked at Samuel. I just wanted to make a place where people could eat. I didn't know I needed to make one where people felt seen. Samuel chuckled softly. Well, you're seen now. They looked out at the street. Across the road, a little boy held his mom's hand. He pointed at the restaurant. That's the guy from the phone, he whispered. The one who fixed the mean place. His mom smiled. Not fixed, she said. Changing. That's harder. The boy waved. Keanu waved back. Then Samuel leaned forward and asked, "So, what happens now?" Keanu stood up slowly, stretched, and turned to Samuel. "We keep showing up. We keep listening. And we don't let the wrong people take over again." He held out his hand. Samuel shook it. One shake. Strong. Real. If you liked this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.